Welcome to Cooking at Nano Lodge. Today, our humble main dish is going to be stuffed acorn squash. I love this about the fall time because it's just a great way to use fall vegetables that are in season, and you can take it in just about any direction you want. Today, we're going to make it a little bit rustic with some Italian sausage and some fresh sage, but you can change it up however you want. If you want to use some chorizo and some peppers and onions, you can take it in some sort of Latin way. Lots and lots of options. You can add some leftover rice and make it even starchier. We're going to keep it just a little bit lighter and on a little bit healthier side. I'm going to use some spinach, but it's going to be tasty and great way to ring in the fall with some food. All our ingredients are here in front of us for the squash that I'm going to make today. We've got some salt, some olive oil, some spinach. We've got the fresh sage from the garden, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. We've got the squash. And here I've got an acorn squash because I love the way when we cut it in half, the little scalloped edges add just a little bit of elegance to this rustic dish. But you can use a butternut squash or a delicata squash or any kind of winter squash for this dish, and it'll be great. Got Parmesan cheese, onion. This is a white one today. You can use yellow if you have it. A little bit of garlic, some celery, and then I'm going to use some Italian sausage. This is the Johnsonville mild Italian sausage. But as I said before, you can use a hot spicy sausage if you want to spice it up. Use a chorizo. You can take it in any different direction and make this whatever you want. So let's talk about the sage. Here in the garden at the lodge, I grow 4 different kinds of sage. We've got the green sage, which is a nice big leafed, called Bergis Garden sage. I've got a variegated sage that's purple and white and green. I've got this beautiful purple sage that's sort of purple and green. And then finally I have another variegated sage that's green and yellow. Makes for a really pretty herb wall outside. They all taste pretty much the same and you can use them interchangeably. But I love the pretty colors and the way it makes the outside look, as well as when we chop it up, it'll make it look a little bit pretty before we throw it in the dish. Once it's in the dish, the colors all kind of get lost, but it's kind of fun anyway. So everything's here. Let's get it all prepped up. Okay, let's tackle this squash. First, I want to cut off just a little bit off the end so that when it's sitting there, it'll set flat. This one's a little bit harder to do because it's got the knot in it. Just kind of hack at it, whack at it, and now it'll sit flat when it's on the plate. Then what I'm going to do is cut it in half. Just like that. So now I've got 2 halves. One's a little taller than the other, but that's sort of how it goes. We'll scoop the seeds out of these, and then we're going to bake them in the oven, and then we'll make the stuffing, and then we'll rebake them all together. All our ingredients are prepped and ready to go. Scooped out all the seeds, and again, you can see that this nice flat bottom, beautiful scalloped edges. It's going to look really pretty. We've got half a pound of the sausage here. I cut the celery into nice little ribs, diced the onion, measured the Parmesan. I've chopped up the sage, a little bit of salt. I minced the garlic, and I've got our spinach here, which I just gave kind of a rough chop just to break up some of those long stems a little bit when we put it in the pan to saute it. So now it's time to get the squash in the oven and make the filling. For the squash, I'm just going to drizzle just a tiny bit of olive oil there, and we're just going to rub it around with our hands and then put some salt on there. Just a little bit. Just kind of rub that in there. A little bit of salt all around. Then we're going to flip them over, throw them in the oven, and roast them till they're nice and soft. We'll make the stuffing while this is roasting. squash has been in the oven for 28 minutes. You can see it's just nice and soft. Poke a fork right through it. We're gonna flip them over. See a beautiful roasted color? Nice. Now we'll take our filling. Put about half in each. Put a little more cheese over the top. That one looks fluffier because the hole in the squash is smaller, but it is about half in each one. I saved about 2 tablespoons out of that half cup of cheese to put on the top here. We'll pop these back in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes, let the cheese melt on there, let the stuffing kind of fall into the squash and give it just a little flavor, and then we'll have dinner. Our stuffed acorn squash is ready for dinner. It looks a little elegant with those scalloped edges, nice and brown from the roasting. I garnished it with a little bit of sage from the garden just to give it kind of another oomph and elegance, but it's really delicious. It smells great. That Italian sausage just permeates the whole thing. And if you don't want to use pork sausage, use a chicken sausage. Change it up however you want. But it's a lovely fall dinner. It's filling, but yet still a little bit healthy with the spinach and the squash in there. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Cooking at Nano Clutch. And if you love this episode, be sure to subscribe so you get a notice for all the episodes that come out every week. Thank you.